How did you come to conclude that Karen Read is guilty? What is the evidence that leads you to believe that Karen Read is guilty?
Well, just to run it through, there's a substantial amount of evidence that Karen Read and John O'Keefe's relationship in the lead up to the night of January 28th and the morning of January 29th, 2022 was breaking down. It had started during a family trip to Aruba that Karen was invited on with a bunch of John's family and friends. She saw John hugging a woman, sister of a friend, outside an elevator, became extremely jealous, started screaming at John for 2 hours in the hotel room in front of John's adopted double orphaned niece and nephew that John had taken on years before he started dating Karen as his own after the death of their parents. After that fight, Karen then on her own started an affair with a federal agent. The federal agent didn't even have Karen's number. She texted him. The federal agent was John's friend for over a year. And just 2 weeks before John's death, Karen brought that federal agent into the garage of John's home after the Pats got blown out in Buffalo on January 15th of 2022 and said, "I'm going to kiss you, federal agent. And just so you know, I know the layout of John's ring system, so we won't be on camera." Now, 3 days before John's death on January 26, 2022, in the court files, John's niece testifies that Karen was asked to leave the family home and simply refused to go. And so I think what happened and what the evidence shows is on the night of the 28th and morning of the 29th, Karen and John met up together. John was out with a friend, Michael Camerano, at a bar in Canton. Karen joined them, and Karen had about 9 drinks at the first and then the second bar. The second bar was called the Waterfall. Karen was drinking out of a vase sort of glass, and then shots were being poured into it by the bartender on video. At the end of that sort of drinking night, Karen and John were invited to a party at the home of John's colleague. John was a Boston police officer, and they were invited to a home on Fairview Road in Canton to sort of continue partying. Karen initially actually wanted the homeowner to open his pizza place, but they didn't want to do that, so they went over to the home. Karen and John drove together from the Waterfall to the home. Just themselves, them two. Karen was drunk. Her BAC was between 0.13 and 0.29, according to the toxicology report. We'll get to why one of those was done a little bit later. And when Karen and John get to the home, it is precisely 12:24 in the morning. When they arrive at that home, John and Karen sit in the car. They are alleged to have had an argument about what Karen served or made for John's kids for breakfast that morning, and then or niece and nephew, and then also Karen's cheating on John with the federal agent. As a result, Karen doesn't end up coming into the party, although she was invited. She had just been welcomed by the people who were throwing it at the bar, but she doesn't come in, alleges the state, because of the fight with John. John gets out of the car on his own. He takes, I believe it's 34 steps in 30 seconds towards the house. He does not get into the house, according to all of the GPS data related to John's movements. And at that moment, alleges the state, Karen committed a second-degree malice murder. And the way that Karen did that was, without perhaps even intending to kill or even hit John, Karen recklessly backed up her car while drunk up to 24.2 miles an hour, according to the safety data, while John was around the car. And whether she knew it or not, she hit John and then proceeded to leave the scene. So that's about 12:30 or so in the morning. And as if that series of events was not intense enough, there are then voicemails in the evidentiary record right after 12:45 a.m. where Karen calls John, and there are texts too. And in those voicemails, Karen screams, "I effing hate you, John. You're a pervert," and other very, very degrading things. So it's clear that Karen was angry in that moment. But what's even more telling, Roberta, is what happened at 5 a.m. on the 29th. So Karen Reed wakes up, or maybe she never went to bed, but she wakes up around 5 a.m. By the way, 17 Ring videos between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. that Karen Reed was able to delete because she had control of John's Ring system, deleted. So we don't know a lot about Karen's movements between when she hit John allegedly and then when she leaves the house again. But just know that those deleted videos are concerning. But then alleges the state, Karen gets up and goes back to Fairview Road by herself. She turns her phone on airplane mode, allegedly, but there's still data showing she went towards the house, the crime scene. She is alleged to have seen John's body lying in the snow, and then she leaves the scene again, goes to a friend's house, picks up two witnesses, has them drive her back to the scene, and then the next two series of events are even more damning for Reed. Before Reed even gets past the tree line of this house, in a blizzard at 2 or 5 in the morning in the dark or so, Karen starts screaming that she sees the body, John's body. No one else is able to see it. They haven't passed the tree line. Then when Karen gets to the scene in front of paramedics, she starts screaming, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. This is all my fault. And then she threatens self-harm, leading her to be brought to the hospital where her blood is then taken. And then it's confirmed that she was drunk. So all of those pieces of evidence together, and we haven't even gone into some of the most important parts of the pieces of those evidence, but all of those pieces of evidence together come to form a very damning theory of malice second degree murder.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay. How is everybody? Happy Sunday. Wanted to talk to you about Karen Reed and 10 important facts, or 10 facts I find that are important in this case, before we head to opening statements tomorrow at 10 a.m. I may live stream it. I don't know, just for fun, not anything sort of, I don't know, organized. If I'm up for it, just to hang out with you all, because I'll be watching it anyway, but I'll definitely be talking about it tomorrow night. Love opening statements. Who doesn't? So I want to talk to you about 10 facts that I find are important in this case. And I also want to talk about what I think, make some predictions on the defense strategies in this case. I've analyzed Alan Jackson. I've analyzed David Yannetti. And I can say that my opinion of both of them is that they're both giant douches. That's how I feel after analyzing them. Not really very keen on them. And I just wanted to point out what I think that their expertise is, why they were hired for this case. Looking from some of their own PR and some of their work as a prosecutor. These are both former prosecutors. Thanks, Marlene Lira Moreo. I hope I don't. I'm sorry, Marlene. I know I just probably mispronounced your name terribly. Very pretty name, Lira. Thank you for becoming a member. So let's get into it. First off, I think it's really important. And if you were listening to the open with the excellent Grant Smith Ellis, really encapsulated a lot of the littler known facts of the case. But it's really important to know that one, John O'Keefe had asked Karen Reed to leave his home the day before. So this happened on January 29th, on the 28th, and he went and slept over at a friend's house. And so fact number 2 is John O'Keefe, according to his niece, who's going to be testifying in this trial, minor witness, that they fought 2 to 3 times a week and that they would fight about random stuff, things people normally wouldn't argue about, according to her. Jen McCabe. So I actually have a little something for you to look at. Hold on one hot minute. Look at. This is from, of course, Tuesday Gazette. Jen McCabe's own texts are very damning. So both Karen Reed and John O'Keefe, he rode with Karen Reed driving to Jen McCabe's house. And she says, pull in behind me. And then after that, when he doesn't come in, so it's first there's a 12:31 text, pull in behind me. Then there's a 12:40 text, hello. Then there's a 12:42 text, where are you? 12:45, hello. Seems like kind of a strange thing to text if there's like a mass fight going on, but okay. Also, 4, Karen Reed showed Jennifer McCabe her cracked taillight, asking, could I have hit him? And then asking, did I hit him? 5, Brian Nagel, and I actually have, so this is not, of course, color correct. Ryan Nagel pulled in behind Karen Reed at 34 Fairview. As he was driving away, he saw an interior. He saw what is described as Karen Reed's vehicle with the interior light on, a Caucasian woman at the wheel with her hands on the 10 and the 2, and no passenger. Many people also saw Karen Reed make a 3-point turn that night and drive away. Number 6, Karen Reed called Carrie Roberts at approximately 5 a.m. stating, John's dead, Carrie. Carrie, I wonder if he's dead. It's snowing. He got hit by a plow. 7, Karen Reed also told Carrie Roberts, which I think this is one of the greatest admissions in the negative, I was so drunk, I don't even remember going to your sister's, meaning Jennifer McCabe's house last night. It's like one of those things where you do something that you don't want to take responsibility. I was so out of my mind. I don't even remember all the things I'm going to list that I did last night. I don't remember them. Right? Not the smartest or most sophisticated criminal in the bunch, Karen Reed. 8, Karen Reed was seen by the snowplow driver between 3:30 and 4 a.m. on Fairview Road, parked right next to where John O'Keefe was found. And at the same time, Karen admits that around that time, 3:30, 4 a.m., she was also driving around town in a 2-mile radius looking for John. But snowplow driver says that she was parked right next to there. So meaning that she went, before she ever collected her friends to go discover John O'Keefe, that she had already discovered him alone. That's what that indicates. And number 10, the FBI agrees with the Commonwealth as to the cause of death in this case. Very damning. So all those talking about the FBI report, here's a few like extra credit stuff. So for as far as the Haas long to die in cold search from browser, state DBT requires a deeper analysis, meaning that means that was the time when the browser was open. So the Cellbrite expert is going to testify that those searches were done at, if I'm remembering this right, I hope I'm not moving the numbers, it's either 632 and 634 or 623 and 624, something in that vicinity. Forgive me for not having my notes in front of me for that. But not the 227 search everyone talks about. So that's when her browser was opened. And this talks about, Cellbrite expert is going to talk about how those things are calculated. Also, as far as the iPhone, that he was walking up and down a flight of steps in 3 seconds on his iPhone health monitor, you can see here that he's really in the middle of town when that happened. So, and this talks about the Cellbrite location with that. So he was a half a mile away from Fairview when that happened. So it's going to be more a thing of, so what do we have? If we're defense attorneys, what do we have in this case, right? I mean, this is a lot of evidence. This is one of the cases with, I think, the most evidence I've ever seen against a defendant, kind of overwhelming, piled upon piled of circumstantial evidence, which is really hard evidence to refute. There's not a good alternative story. And you have to remember that Karen Reed has changed from now Brian and Colin Albert as the culprits to the guy she was having an affair with, Brian Higgins, who she kissed on January 15th, 2022. So what do you have? What you have is you have a lot of distraction, and that's what I think we've seen with this campaign. A lot of distraction, and then you have character assassination. So I was really shocked when I watched the closing arguments of Alan Jackson, who prosecuted Phil Spector. And what I'm used to with prosecutors in their closing arguments is you heard this testimony and that testimony, and this means that, and this is why he's all guilty. But instead, he took 2 witnesses who testified friendly to the defense and just character assassinated them. The problem with this in the Karen Reed case is that there's so many witnesses all saying the same thing, all consistent. But I bet we're going to hear about a lot of unsavory things and a lot of really unimportant things to try to make their testimony not believable and to try to make it look like they have some kind of motive to lie. It's going to be like everyone hates Karen Reed. Also, Alan Jackson defends a lot of people and David Unetti who confess, who do things on camera. So let's look first at David Unetti's own propaganda. So this one is kind of a little bit more dull, but there is a method behind my madness as to why I'm showing. Check it out.
Reviewed back in 1990.
Wait. No, I'm going to show you. Oh, guys, I pulled up the wrong one. Hold on. Let me boot this from the studio. Hold on 1 second and pull in the more. If I copied it, I hope I did. The more, it's actually not super. Yeah, it's this one. Hold on.
I've been practicing law for over 20 years now. The first 10 years I practiced as a prosecutor, where I cut my teeth and learned my craft. And for the last 10 years.
So how young does he look? And do you love is that a green screen behind him there? I just thought this was super, just sort of ridiculous. Hey, Dean, nice to see you. Thanks for the super sticker. I thought this was super funny. Just the green screen of books behind him. We don't have a real library. We'll just green screen it in with, it looks like all the same book or all the same massive volumes of books. All law books, I guess. That's what we're supposed to believe. He can just refer to them at the ready.
I've maintained a law office in Boston, practicing solely criminal defense work. People who are...
So when you come in and you're being accused of committing a crime, David Yannetti, and points to him, gives you candy. You may be going away for a long time, but here's a Jolly Rancher while you sit and talk to me. It's the small details, but check out these curtains. So this is when he's like fairly young, right? So this is his own ad.
Are in trouble, are looking for somebody in whom they can have ultimate confidence that that person, that attorney, can handle anything that comes the client's way, and will do so with a steady hand and with zealous advocacy.
Like, I understand he's advertising for himself, but the amount of bragging, I understand he's promoting himself, but just listen to the, this is actually toned down to the next one that I'm going to show you.
That's what I bring to the table. I know how cases...
He brings candy, ugly curtains, and he brings good lawyering, he says, to the table. And he has all his press on YouTube. Every time he's been on TV, it seems like, and commented on anything, either as a prosecutor or as a defense attorney. He's got everything on there. And what was he thinking with those curtains? It's just such a really hideous curtains.
Made. I know how they should be put together. Given my background as a prosecutor, I hold current prosecutors and the police to the standards that I set for myself. I treat every client as though their life is on the line with whatever crime that they've been charged with.
He holds the prosecutors and the police to the standard he set for himself, obviously the highest standard, right? But in the next video, he's going to argue that he was part of them, and he's saying it's sort of implying, I guess, to my ear that they're corrupt and not and do a sloppy job and have tunnel vision and all the things we always hear in defense cases, and they're not up to the standard of the defense or his defense, certainly.
When they hire me, they get me. I keep control over all my cases. And if there's any important event or trial or hearing, it will be me that is by my client's side, and I would not have it any other way.
Yeah, just don't expect the addresses of any of the people I'm going to call as witnesses in the case when the judge asks for them, or don't expect me to have a third-party argument on the ready when it's going to be decided whether I can argue it in this case. Then I'll just wing it don't expect me to have a submission. I'll just argue it on the fly. He also has 1,000 something cases up there. Hey, Denise, thanks so much. Enjoying your coverage. Thanks. So check this out. So next, check this out. This is, okay, so that's the first one. But then this is, even if you thought that was a little stiff and a little bit ridiculous, wait till you hear this one.
This court, like the jury before it, was misled into believing that the confession is all there was and that there is no other suspect.
I knew that I wanted to be in a
Yeah, this court was led to believe. First of all, there's very few cases that are tried on just a confession, almost none. There has to be other evidence of it, or they wouldn't be charged with it. But anyway, he's like, this court thinks just because my client signed a sworn statement saying he did it, that this court thinks that my client did it. Come on, guys. Come on. What are we talking about here?
attorney even when I was a teenager. It seemed thrilling to me to be in charge of a case, to be in control of a courtroom. And after practicing for over 30 years, it's still thrilling to me. I chose to practice criminal law because, in my view, it's the height of the legal profession. Every time I go into a courtroom, I'm defending not only my client, but the U.S. Constitution.
So now he's looking years older, and the ugly curtains are still there. They're still there, guys. No one told them, like, hey, I'm enjoying this Jolly Rancher. Thanks for having it on your table, on your desk. But the curtains are hideous, David Yannetti. What? But you haven't gotten to the good stuff. So he's like, okay, so you confessed. That's my specialty. I got you. Confessions are nothing. We'll just say false confession, forced into it, under duress, right? Thanks, Dana. Hi, everyone. Dana D'Angelo. Thanks. Thanks so much. Okay, now he's doing very serious things at his notebook. Very, very serious things.
What higher calling could there be in America? I began my career as an assistant district attorney. I spent...
Okay, so note the trophy behind him because it's going to come back later. Okay, so you all see the trophy behind him. I guess it's to our left, his right. It's gonna play an important part.
Nearly a decade investigating and prosecuting cases and seeing the inner workings of the police departments and the DA's office.
So he was so the thing he just basically called had low standards he was a part of, right? Didn't he say he holds them to his standards? He was part of what he's saying in this case, the corrupt cops, the corrupt prosecutors. He was all part of that system. Okay, David Yannetti.
My background as a former prosecutor has been invaluable to me as I defend people.
So in everything he says is so corrupt in this area in Boston, he says he was now a part of, right, in this case?
Today, who are seeking justice in their cases. Over the course of my career, I've been fortunate to have experiences that other criminal defense attorneys frankly lack. In the infancy of court TV, around the time of the O.J. Simpson murder case, I was lead counsel in a case that was broadcast on court TV nationwide, gavel to gavel. My clients know that even as a young lawyer, I was trying big cases in front of...
So he's like, when everyone was watching the O.J. Simpson case, I was doing my own big case. And I was getting attention, and people were looking at me at court TV. I don't even understand. Like, I'm famous. I've been on court TV.
Hundreds of people in an event called the Battle of the Lawyers. I was asked to recreate a famous closing argument that I had done. And
his closing argument is famous, guys. It's famous. And here's where he gets the trophy for his recreation of his famous closing argument.
Pleased to say that I won that competition. I've taken a murder case where my client confessed and I appealed it all the way.
Okay, so he took a murder case where his client confessed. He's bragging about this. This is a selling point. Thank you, psych nurse. Yes. Perhaps appears to be a psychopath. That's what I'm thinking about. Bret Easton Ellis's book. When I'm watching this, I'm thinking about does David Yannetti pass around his business cards? American Psycho. I mean, come on. That's what I'm thinking about watching this. He's like, listen, I got a guy who robbed a whole family's loved ones of their loved one, and he confessed to it. And I got it. First, I got the conviction thrown out. And then I got him fully acquitted. I mean, I guess that's what, I mean, this is what criminals do when they're looking through YouTube. Like, I want this guy. I've confessed. I want Jolly Ranchers, ugly curtains, and a guy who wants to, his selling point is that he can get anyone out of anything, even if they've confessed to it.
To the Supreme Judicial Court. The conviction was reversed, and I won him a new trial. At that new trial, despite the signed confession that the government still had, we achieved a not guilty verdict. The thing about our firm is that we are always looking forward to the next challenge. When clients first call our office, they are scared. They do not know what's going to happen.
Really, David Yannetti, you don't have the victim's family here? Weren't they thrilled with that? They were probably so relieved they got a conviction in that case. And here comes David Yannetti to get the conviction thrown out, retried, and get an acquittal. You don't have the victim's family doing a selling, talking, right? Selling your services. I'm so shocked. Because we know how they treat the victim's family. They think it's totally okay to harass them. He's never said anything. He's never called off the dogs. And it's been alleged he's been behind it, the harassment. It's been alleged that Karen Reed's lawyers are behind John O'Keefe's family's harassment, excuse me.
And they feel out of control. We work as a team to fully investigate and research a case and put the client in the best possible position to succeed. Get the benefit and insight of an
Flower Girl. I just went over all those points exactly, and debunked them. Go back.
Attorney and a firm that has been down this road many, many times before. The goal of the Yannetti Criminal Defense Law Firm is very simply to provide the best criminal defense representation that is available anywhere.
I do have something nice to say, though. I'm sorry. That did trigger me a bit. When you're talking about, bragging about having confessions and getting people acquitted and being inspired by the OJ case, it doesn't really impress me. But I have to say, very nice shots of Boston, a beautiful town. And his coat looks very nice. And the snow is very, very nice in that video. I have to say, those things I like, I would say. But here's Alan Jackson. So this is very young Alan Jackson in Phil Spector's case. It's kind of long. I'm not going to play all of it, but tell me if you've ever heard of a prosecution closing argument like this. So instead of saying, think about, for those of you who followed my Adelson, Dan Markel case coverage, think about Georgia Kappelman's closing argument. I would say, you can think about John Lewin and the Durst. Shout out to anybody who's watching the Jinx Part 2. Check out my 4 shows I've done with Deputy DA John Lewin, the king of the cold cases himself. Probably some of the most fun I've ever had on my podcast with him. He's featured in that. Can't wait till the new episode comes out tonight. But those are more what I think of, even as untraditional as John Lewin is in the courtroom, more traditional. The framework is more traditional. So what Alan Jackson does here is he goes after, so this is about what Phil Spector ended Lana Clarkston's life. And the defense was that she did it to herself. And she had 2 friends saying that she was thinking of ending it all, right? So he took those 2 friends and totally, in his closing, totally destroyed their credibility. And this is something I expect from a defense attorney, not something I expect from a prosecutor. Very young Alan Jackson. Check it out, guys.
That wasn't going to work. They couldn't show that she had suicidal ideation. They couldn't show that she had prior suicide attempts. They couldn't show that she had been diagnosed with major depressive disorder. They couldn't show any of that stuff about Lana. All they could show is that she was a normal human being. So what do? They turned to Jennifer Hayes and pumpkin pie. Y'all have been waiting for me to talk about that, hadn't you? Jennifer Hayes and pumpkin pie. What did Jennifer...
And yes, Lana Clarkson had a friend who took the name Pumpkin Pie. Pumpkin Pie. And he says it over and over and again, just like hitting the alliteration.
Hayes say? Jennifer Hayes said, Lana Clarkson and me and Pumpkin Pie were the Three Musketeers. Inseparable sisters. We were each other's confidants. We were each other's go-to gals. We were inseparable. We were connected at the hip. We were the Three Musketeers, according to Jennifer Hayes. I loved Lana. I knew everything about Lana, and I knew the real Lana, which is real convenient, by the way. Oh, all you people, everybody else, all the evidence that says that she was a happy person, oh, that was just the game face Lana. I knew the real Lana. I got down into the dirt with her. I knew the real Lana Clarkson. Really? Did you? One of the first things you said on cross-examination, actually it was direct examination, I think it was a faux pas, I think she wished she could have taken it back. She said, I'm Pie's memory. I, Jennifer Hayes, am Pie's memory. Pie has such a poor memory. Pumpkin Pie can't remember her name if I don't give it to her. She has such a poor memory that I'm actually her memory.
Right. She says, I had a friend with a very good memory. I have I would say a very good memory for what people say, but otherwise, other things not so good. But so she said, I'm her memory. And I don't know if you all had friends like that where I said, oh, thank heavens you were along because you have such a good memory. So she said, I'm her memory. So now Alan Jackson has taken that one statement and now Pumpkin Pie has no memory at all. She can't even remember her own name. For friends not there, she's like a walking amnesiac. So he takes it and kind of exaggerates it, and meaning you can't trust her. These two collaborated on their testimony. So something we might see tomorrow, this kind of character assassination, taking one thing and really blowing it up. One statement made in cross or made in direct and really blowing it up. So you're looking to really gut them on credibility. Gut witnesses on credibility. That's what I think we can expect with Alan Jackson.
What else do we know? We know that Tawny Tyndall, as she is wont to do, interviewed her. But amazingly, there's no recording of that interview. And she interviewed her with another person. She interviewed Jennifer Hayes right alongside another person. Who could that person be? Oh yeah, Pumpkin Pie. The three of them sat and chatted together. And what do you think they did? Do you think Pumpkin Pie might have helped Jennifer Hayes a little bit get her story straight? We're going to get to Pumpkin Pie in a second and her motivations in this trial in just a second. But do you think that their testimony sounded just alike enough that it's suggestive that they might have gotten their story straight? One thing's for sure, you folks will never know. You'll never know. Because Tawny Tyndall and the defense made sure that those conversations were never recorded. So you'll never know.
So breaking news, I'm seeing in the chat. So Murder by Maestro, I guess there is the whole Free Karen Reed people are out. Pumpkin Pie. Pumpkin Pie. Pumpkin Pie. Thanks to the $9.99. Oh, it's so fun to say. Pumpkin Pie. Pumpkin Pie. So Murder by Maestro got mass flagged. And YouTube was like, hey, dude, you're not following the rules of conduct. And I guess he got back to them and they reversed it. So fail one for the free Karen Reed people.
You have to ask yourself, whose testimony were you listening to when Jennifer Hayes testified? Was it hers? Was it Pumpkin Pie's? Roger Rosen even talked to Jennifer Hayes at one point. That wasn't recorded either. Whose testimony were you really listening to? And then we find out that Jennifer Hayes knows about the cottage. This is the inseparable sister, the person that is closer to her than anybody else. They trade confidences and intimacies. They talk constantly. They know each other's good moods, bad moods. I know the good moods, bad moods, and I, Jennifer Hayes, know the real Lana Clarkson. Really, how long has she lived in the cottage? Oh, as long as I've known her. Absolutely, I've known her 8-9 years. She's lived there the whole time. Oops. Guess she didn't get that one straight during her conversation with Pumpkin Pie. Lana Clarkson lived in the cottage for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. Jennifer.
So Pumpkin Pie is clearly the devil as painted by Alan Jackson in this. But you can see he's got a really good rapport with the jury. It reminds me of what my father used to say, charm is the enemy of character. Very charming, very slick. And I put the whole link to this. We can watch a little bit more, but I put the whole link to this in the description of this video if you guys want to watch the whole thing.
Jennifer Hayes doesn't even know where Lana Clarkson lived. I'm not saying they didn't know each other. I'm saying you have to question whether or not they knew each other in the way that Jennifer Hayes said they knew each other. Keep in mind, she's got no corroboration whatsoever about their relationship, except one person. Pumpkin Pie. Interestingly enough, you'll have available to you, and I don't suggest you do this, it takes a long time. Actually, I suggest you do it. What the heck? You got nothing but time anyway, right? We presented you with phone records. Cell phone records from Lana Clarkson, cell phone records from Jennifer Hayes. Not one phone call in the last 3 months of Lana Clarkson's life. Not one call received, not one call made. Well, you know what? We're in an email society. They don't talk on the phone. They get together all the time and share their intimacies in email. We know what a prolific emailer Lana Clarkson was, right? So it must have been email. We'll give Jennifer a break. Oops. Not one email. Not one email.
And Pumpkin Pie, thanks for becoming a member. Only so I can even just say it. Pumpkin Pie. Thanks. Thanks so much. So you can see he just really, really enjoys. He's a good public speaker. He enjoys it. And he enjoys the drama in the courtroom.
In evidence that you have between Lana Clarkson and Jennifer Hayes. Whose testimony were you really listening to? Hers or Pumpkin Pie's? And then we have Pumpkin Pie, who without question has chased the limelight from the day Lana Clarkson died. With the memorials that she went to, having her own memorial at some club that she was promoting. She was so devastated, by the way, that she got up that next Tuesday. Lana Clarkson lost her life on Monday. She got up on Tuesday and promoted another club. Oh, I had to be dragged out of bed, and I was dragged out of, the grocery store, and I collapsed, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, please. She was promoting a club the next day. I'm not saying that she wasn't hurt by Lana's death. I'm not being insensitive to her hurt. I'm saying, can you really believe this sob story that Pumpkin Pie was trying to sell you? Let's think about this. You have to test the character and quality of her testimony on this witness stand. Because, folks, the reality is, if it didn't come through that microphone, or it's not presented to you physically, it ain't in evidence. All right? What comes through that microphone is evidence. So you can test how Pumpkin Pie acted and reacted. You can test the character and quality of her testimony just by how she acted on the stand. How was she dressed? Did she come dressed appropriately? Or did she look like she was looking for attention?
Yeah, says the guy now representing Karen Reed, right? Did she come dressed appropriately to court? Or did it look like she was trying to get attention by how she was dressing and maybe cause a distraction by wearing some thigh-high boots? So we'll all talk about her outfit. Nobody will talk about the fact that her defense is crumbling. They can't mention third party in opening. So it's going to be how terrible everyone else is, how corrupt everyone else is, how untrustworthy everyone else is. Because somehow they're all have it out for Karen Reed. And no one saw what they saw. Nobody, I wouldn't even be surprised if they pull in Elizabeth Loftus for this, but I guess not. I guess she's ruined herself, the memory expert who testified for Weinstein, Cosby, Night Stalker, Robert Durst. Oh, so many cases. I mean, just so many. Or worked on OJ, worked for the defense for OJ, but I don't think she testified. She didn't testify for OJ, but worked on that defense team. Basically wrote a book. She also testified for Ghislaine Maxwell, was one of two witnesses for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Everybody thought about that. Of course, the defense got her cleaned up the next time she was called to the stand, or somebody got her cleaned up the next time she was called to the stand. Did she really look like someone who had just lost her best friend and is in the trial of her best friend's death as she tries to give over the truth about her friend? Or did she look like she was trying to draw attention to herself, just with her appearance, before she even started talking?
So this is really interesting. So Alan Jackson is now, representing Karen Reed, and the Free Karen Reed people said that we're also mean to bring up Karen Reed dressing inappropriately for court, saying we're all trying to, as a woman, attack her insensitively. He's really comfortable in closing attacking a woman for how she dressed in court.
And I don't think I'm putting too fine a point on it when I say, in trying to determine whether or not she seeks attention for herself, is she the type, is she an attention seeker? She named herself Pumpkin Pie. I mean, it's not like she went home to her mom and said, you know what, I don't like Irene and I don't like Elizabeth and Laughlin, it's not really working for me, so I'm going to change to Susie or Joanne or Michelle. No, she said, yeah, you know what, I think I'm going to change my name to a Thanksgiving Day dessert.
Thanksgiving Day dessert, guys. So these are all a real distraction from the real evidence in the case and just real, character assassination. Because they had testimony that was damaging to the prosecution or aided for the defense. Dana D'Angelo, thanks for becoming a member. So when it's convenient for them, they're not above attacking women for their dress, for their name. And I just have a question for you. Could this argument work today? Meaning, with all these bizarre names that people are naming their kids, it's more and more common to name your kid something really out there. Would this work? Would this argument work now? Let me know what you think in the comments.
Pumpkin Pie. Someone who's, and look, she can change her name to anything she wants to. I don't care. I don't care about that. All I'm saying is you have to ask yourself, is this part and parcel of her attempt to draw attention to herself? That's what she craves. The attention on herself. She used Lana Clarkson in life to do that. Tall, gorgeous, beautiful blonde. And she's using Lana Clarkson in death to do that. To draw.
Okay. So I think you guys get the idea. Thought it was super, super interesting. Hey, Kate. Loved your song. Loved your song. Love your work. So that's really what I have for today. That's what I think we can expect. Expect a lot of distractions, a lot of tap dancing for the jury, a lot of tricking in people into saying things that maybe they think might be damaging. Because the facts of this case are not good for Karen Read. So I think we can expect from the defense pointing fingers at everyone else as being unreliable, untruthful, untrustworthy. So thanks so much for listening. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave me a 5-star review, leave me a comment, and let me know if you think I'm right or what you predict the defense's tactics are going to be tomorrow at 10. And I may be streaming here at 10. I'm not sure. I know that there are an awful lot of people doing it, but I may just do it for, just for fun, very casually here, because I'll be watching it anyway for a little bit. And have a terrific night, everybody.